Alan Jackson, the country legend whose timeless songs like Remember When, Chattahoochee, and Where Were You, When the World Stopped Turning, defined an entire generation, has always been more than a musician. He's been the heart and soul of country music, a storyteller who captured the spirit of small-town America with unmatched honesty. But today, the man whose voice once filled arenas across the world faces a reality far more fragile than any stage could prepare him for. At nearly 70, Alan's life has taken a heartbreaking turn. The once vibrant performer, known for his electrifying energy and commanding presence, is now forced to confront a devastating diagnosis that has changed everything. The illness, one that has slowly robbed him of his mobility and stamina, has made even simple daily tasks a struggle. Yet, in true Alan Jackson fashion, he faces it with quiet strength, deep faith, and gratitude for the fans who have stood by him for decades. The country icon has begun saying goodbye, not with sadness, but with grace. His family, particularly his wife Denise and their daughters, have been his unwavering support as he battles this cruel disease. But behind their smiles lies a private pain, as the man they love prepares to step away from the spotlight for good. In this emotional look back, we'll uncover Alan Jackson's rise to fame, his personal struggles, the truth behind his diagnosis, and the legacy he leaves behind, one built on love, faith, and unforgettable music that will never fade. Alan Jackson's story begins far from the glitz and glamour of Nashville. Born in Newnan, Georgia, on October 17, 1958, he was the youngest of 5 children in a modest household. His parents, Joseph and Ruth Jackson, raised their family in a small home built around his grandfather's old tool shed. A humble start that would later inspire the themes of simplicity, hard work, and faith that became the backbone of Alan's music. From an early age, he found comfort in gospel hymns and the storytelling traditions of classic country artists like Hank Williams and Gene Watson. Alan didn't dream of fame right away. After high school, he worked odd jobs, from car sales to construction, while performing in local bars and small-town venues whenever he could. His wife Denise played a crucial role in his journey. She believed in his talent from the very beginning, encouraging him to chase his dream even when the odds seemed impossible. It was Denise who made the life-changing connection that would launch his career. After a chance meeting with Glenn Campbell in an airport, she handed him Alan's demo tape. Campbell's team later helped Alan get his first break in Nashville. In 1989, Alan Jackson released his debut album, Here in the Real World, a record that immediately set him apart. While the country music industry was shifting toward a more polished, pop-influenced sound, Jackson stayed true to the genre's roots. His deep voice, steel guitar melodies, and heartfelt lyrics resonated with listeners who longed for authenticity. Songs like Chasin' That Neon Rainbow and Wanted weren't just hits. They were reflections of his own struggles and dreams. Throughout the 1990s, Alan became one of the pillars of traditional country. His albums sold millions, earning him Grammy Awards, CMA honors, and a place among the genre's greats. But beyond the trophies, his success was built on sincerity. Alan never chased trends or fame. He sang about family, faith, and everyday life, the kind of honesty that connected deeply with audiences across generations. However, fame came with its share of personal challenges. Life on the road took a toll on his family, and his marriage to Denise faced its darkest period in the late 1990s. The couple briefly separated, a heartbreaking chapter that Alan later admitted inspired some of his most emotional songs. Yet, instead of breaking them apart, the struggle strengthened their bond. Through counseling, faith, and forgiveness, Alan and Denise found their way back to each other. Their renewed relationship became one of country music's most inspiring love stories, a testament to resilience and devotion. As the years passed, Alan continued to evolve as an artist. Albums like Drive and What I Do reflected a more mature perspective, blending nostalgia with wisdom. His emotional tribute, Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning, written in response to the September 11th attacks, became one of the most important songs in American history. a healing message that earned him critical acclaim and deep respect nationwide. But behind the music, Alan's health was quietly declining. For years, fans noticed him moving slower on stage, gripping his microphone stand for support and struggling to keep his balance. Speculation grew, but Alan remained silent until he finally revealed the truth. The man who had once symbolized strength and Southern grit was facing a devastating diagnosis that would change his life forever. The revelation shocked the world, but it also revealed the depth of Alan Jackson's courage. Despite the pain, he continued to perform for as long as his body allowed, determined to give his fans everything he had left. His story was no longer just about success or fame. It became a powerful reminder of human strength, love, and grace in the face of life's hardest trials. When Alan Jackson finally revealed the truth about his health, fans around the world were left heartbroken. In 2021, during a candid interview, Alan announced that he had been diagnosed with Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, a degenerative nerve condition that affects the muscles in his legs and feet. The disease, which he had quietly battled for over a decade, was slowly robbing him of his ability to walk and perform, two things that had defined his entire life and career. Charcot-Marie-Tooth, often abbreviated as CMT, is an inherited disorder that damages the peripheral nerves, leading to muscle weakness, coordination loss, and chronic pain. Though not life-threatening, it can drastically change a person's quality of life. For Alan, who had spent decades commanding stages and striding across arenas with confidence, the diagnosis felt like a cruel twist of fate. His fans were used to seeing him as a pillar of strength, tall, calm, and unshakably composed. But behind the scenes, he was facing a daily battle just to stay on his feet. Alan's revelation came not from a place of pity, but honesty. He explained that he wanted his fans to understand why performing had become harder for him, why he sometimes leaned on a stool during concerts or appeared less energetic than before. "I've been dealing with this for years," he said. "It's getting more and more obvious, and I just wanted people to know what's going on. It's not going to kill me, but it's going to make it hard to live a normal life." Even as his condition worsened, Alan refused to let it define him. Instead of retreating from the public eye, he decided to keep performing for as long as possible. In 2022, he embarked on what many considered his farewell tour, fittingly titled Last Call, One More for the Road. It wasn't about saying goodbye with sadness, but rather celebrating the music and memories that had shaped his incredible career. Fans packed venues across the country, some knowing it might be the last time they'd see the country legend live. Each performance was filled with emotion, a mix of gratitude, nostalgia, and bittersweet realization. Those who attended said the shows felt different, not because of Alan's slower movements, but because of his humility and sincerity. He would often pause mid-song to thank the audience for standing by him, his voice cracking with emotion. "I've lived a blessed life," he told them, "and I'm not done yet. I just have to do things a little slower now." His honesty resonated deeply, proving once again that Alan Jackson's greatest strength has always been his authenticity. At home, his family became his greatest source of strength. Denise, his wife of over 4 decades, has stood by him through every trial. Having survived a battle with cancer herself, she understood the emotional toll of illness better than anyone. Together, they faced Alan's diagnosis with faith and determination. Their daughters, Maddie, Alexandra, and Danny, have been equally supportive, often sharing updates and encouraging messages to fans on social media. For them, their father's perseverance was nothing short of inspiring. Despite the physical challenges, Alan continued writing music, channeling his emotions into his art. His 2021 album, Where Have You Gone, reflected a nostalgic tone, filled with songs about love, loss, and time slipping away. Many listeners believed it was his most personal work yet, a heartfelt farewell to the era of traditional country music he helped preserve. Alan Jackson's story during this period is not one of defeat, but resilience. Even as his body weakened, his spirit remained unbroken. He continued to live life on his terms, surrounded by family, faith, and the fans who have loved him for over 30 years. And through it all, one thing became clear. While illness may have slowed him down, it could never take away the voice, heart, or legacy of a man who truly embodied the soul of country music. As Alan Jackson's health continued to decline, he found himself reflecting more deeply on the road that had brought him to this point. The highs, the heartbreaks, and the unwavering faith that had guided him through it all. Though his body was failing him, his spirit remained strong, anchored by gratitude and an unshakable belief in God's plan. Those closest to him said that Alan never once complained about his illness. Instead, he viewed it as another chapter in a long story of resilience, humility, and purpose. Alan's approach to life has always been grounded in simplicity. Despite his immense fame and wealth, he never strayed far from his southern roots. He preferred quiet mornings on his Tennessee ranch to red carpets and award shows, and even at the peak of his success, he remained a devoted husband and father. His life, though marked by fame, was defined by normalcy, fishing trips, family dinners, and church on Sundays. This down-to-earth nature is what made his fans love him even more. To them, Alan wasn't just a star, he was one of them, a man who understood their struggles, joys, and everyday hopes. But as his illness progressed, Alan had to make difficult adjustments. Simple tasks like walking across a stage or standing for long periods became increasingly painful. There were days when the exhaustion was overwhelming, yet he still insisted on attending rehearsals and recording sessions. His wife, Denise, often described how determined he was to keep creating, even when his body begged him to rest. "He doesn't know how to quit," she once said. Music is part of who he is. It keeps him going. That passion for music also became a form of therapy. Writing songs allowed Alan to process his fears and emotions, turning pain into poetry. His later works took on a more reflective tone, tender, nostalgic, and filled with wisdom. He sang about love that endures, time that slips away, and faith that sustains. These songs weren't written for fame or chart success. They were written from the heart of a man who had seen both the beauty and the fragility of life. Friends within the country music community rallied around him. Artists like George Strait, Brad Paisley, and Carrie Underwood publicly expressed their admiration for Alan's courage. Many cited him as the artist who kept traditional country music alive during an era of constant change. Younger musicians often mentioned how Alan's authenticity inspired them to stay true to their roots. His influence stretched far beyond his songs. He became a symbol of integrity in an industry that often values image over substance. Even as his physical condition limited his public appearances, Alan remained connected to his fans. He often shared updates through heartfelt messages and occasional interviews, reassuring everyone that while life had slowed down, his spirit was still strong. He expressed deep gratitude for the decades of love and loyalty from his audience, acknowledging that their support gave him strength to keep going. For Alan, his fans were not just listeners, they were an extended family. At home, surrounded by Denise and their daughters, Alan began to focus more on the things that truly mattered. He spent more time outdoors, tending to his property, and enjoying peaceful moments that fame had often kept him from. Family gatherings became sacred, moments filled with laughter, storytelling, and music that carried the warmth of simpler times. Despite the growing limitations of his illness, Alan's faith remained unwavering. He often spoke about trusting God's plan and finding peace in knowing that his legacy would live on through his music and his family. For Alan Jackson, the struggle with Charcot-Marie tooth disease was not a sign of weakness. It was a testament to his strength. He faced his diagnosis the same way he approached his career, with quiet dignity, perseverance, and a humble heart. While his performing days may be numbered, his music continues to echo in the hearts of millions, reminding everyone that true greatness isn't defined by fame or fortune, but by faith, family, and the courage to face life's hardest battles with grace. As Alan Jackson's journey enters its most tender chapter, he faces his diagnosis not with despair, but with reflection and gratitude. For a man who has given so much to country music, to his family, and to his fans, this period of slowing down has become one of profound meaning. While many view his illness as a tragedy, Alan himself sees it as a reminder of life's fragility, a call to appreciate every remaining moment with the people and passions that have shaped his life. In recent years, Alan has embraced a quieter lifestyle at his home in Franklin, Tennessee. The sprawling property, surrounded by rolling hills and peaceful pastures, has become his sanctuary. He spends his mornings sitting on the porch with Denise, sipping coffee while watching the sunrise, a ritual that reminds him of his humble beginnings in Georgia. Friends say he has found peace in the simple things, the sound of birds, the laughter of his grandchildren, and the distant hum of the countryside. Though his health continues to decline, those close to him describe him as content, grounded, and deeply reflective. Music still fills his home. Even when his hands tremble and walking becomes difficult, Alan often picks up a guitar and strums softly, lost in melody. Some days he writes short verses, often inspired by memories of his early days in Nashville or the lessons life has taught him. These quiet songwriting moments are deeply emotional, not for fame or radio play, but as a personal expression of gratitude. "It's his way of praying," Denise once said. "He talks to God through his songs. His family has become his greatest joy." Alan's daughters frequently visit, and he often jokes with them about growing older. His oldest daughter, Maddie, has spoken openly about how her father's resilience inspires her every day. She describes him as a man who still smiles, even when the pain gets bad. For his family, Alan is not just a country music icon. He's a symbol of love, perseverance, and unwavering faith. While Alan rarely appears publicly now, his legacy continues to shine brighter than ever. Country music stars from every generation have paid tribute to him, acknowledging how he shaped the sound and spirit of the genre. At award ceremonies and concerts, his songs are performed with reverence. Drive, Remember When, Chattahoochee, timeless tracks that capture the soul of everyday America. Younger artists, including Luke Combs and Chris Stapleton, have cited him as one of their biggest inspirations. In a world where country music has evolved dramatically, Alan's authenticity remains a guiding light. Fans, too, continue to honor him. Online communities dedicated to Alan Jackson are filled with messages of love and appreciation. Many share personal stories, how his music comforted them through grief, how Where Were You, When the World Stopped Turning, gave them hope after tragedy, or how Remember When became the soundtrack to their own lives. To millions, Alan Jackson is more than a singer. He's a storyteller who gave voice to their experiences, dreams, and emotions. Though the future remains uncertain, Alan has accepted it with peace. He said in interviews that he's not afraid of what's to come. "We all have to face something in this life," he once reflected. "I've been blessed beyond measure. A beautiful family, loyal fans, and a career I never dreamed of. I don't feel sorry for myself. I just thank the Lord for every day I get. That quiet wisdom, that calm acceptance, is what defines Alan Jackson today. His journey may be nearing its end, but his impact will never fade. Through every song, every lyric, and every note, he has left behind a legacy of authenticity and heart. When the lights finally dim and the last chord fades away, Alan Jackson's story won't be one of sorrow, but of triumph, a life lived with purpose, guided by faith, and remembered through music that will forever echo in the hearts of those who loved him.